Good afternoon. We will start with the Vajradhara, not the Vajradhara lineage prayer, the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. So if we're going to say refuge and bodhicitta, we first have to really think about the sufferings of samsara and the fact that we and all other beings need protection from them, and that protection comes from the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And that if we're truly going to achieve refuge for ourselves, then we have to bring refuge to all other sentient beings. And so we also rouse the motivation that we will practice the path of the six transcendences: generosity, patience, generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, dhyana, and prajna. And so thinking in this way, please recite the prayer for going for refuge in bodhicitta. O sangye chedan soge chonam la chancho pardo dane chabsum che dage jinso ki besanam ki drola penjir sanje drobar sho sangye chedan Soge chonam la chancho pado dane chabsum chi dage jinso gibe sanam je drola penjir sanje drobar sho sangye cheran Soge chonam la chancho pardo dane chabsum che dage jinso gipe sanam je drola penjir sanje drobar sho until enlightenment I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and the sublime Sangha. By the merit of being generous and so forth, may I become a Buddha to help beings until enlightenment. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and the sublime Sangha. By the merit of being generous and so forth, may I become a Buddha to help beings until enlightenment. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and the sublime Sangha. By the merit of being generous and so forth, may I become a Buddha to help beings. May all beings be happy and have the causes of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May they dwell in the highest joy and may they never be parted from the highest joy that is free of all suffering. And may they dwell in the great equanimity that is free of all attachment and aversion to those near and far. And the Dharma expanse balance of Akanishta is the essence of all Buddhas of the three times, who shows me directly my mind is Dharmakaya. I prostrate to the glorious exalted Guru. Please bless me and all sentient beings that our minds become the Dharma, Please bless us that the Dharma become the path. Please bless us that the path dispel confusion. Please bless us that confusion arise as wisdom. Sorry, I just lost my prop while we were reciting the prayers. So now think to yourself, that we need to bring all of our mothers, all sentient beings, as limitless as space, to the state of completely perfect Buddhahood, the state of being entirely free of all suffering. And in order to do that, we must listen to and contemplate the Dharma. And so for that reason, we are listening to the Dharma this afternoon. So listening with this motivation of bodhicitta. The Dharma that we are listening to is the verses on the Treasury of Abhidharma by Vasubandhu, and this as explained by the Ninth Karmapa Wangchuk Dorje in his commentary, Youthful Play. And there are 8 chapters, and the fourth of these, the fourth area, is the teachings on karma, which begins with a description of how everything, all worlds arise out of karma, then a description of the understanding of karma, and it finally closes with a list of the enumerations of, or synonyms of dharmas as an overview. In the middle, we have the understanding of Dharma, and the understanding of Dharma has the brief identification of what karma is. Then there's the presentation of karma. That is the presentation according to the teachings of the Great Exposition School. And then finally, we have the third and longest section is the discussion of the karma as taught in the sutras. And in the karma as taught as sutras, we explain in the sutras, they're the general teachings and specific explanations. So we're talking about the general teachings right now. And the general teachings have 4 topics: the classifying in terms of cause and result, teaching the many enumerations of Dharma, which karma has how many results, and other presentations of karma. So we are still in the first, classifying in terms of karma, of cause and result, although we're coming to its end. Yes, and so this has classifying in terms of result, classifying in terms of cause, and classifying in terms of both cause and result. So classifying in terms of both cause and result is classifying it as white karma, black karma, karma that is both black and white, and karma that is neither black nor white. So those 4 categories of karma. The white karma is white in its action, and it is white in result. It is good in action, good in result. Black karma is bad at the time of action, and the result is bad. Mixed white and black karma may be, as presented here, it's kind of a virtuous karma that you do, but because you have also done black karmas, you experience both good results and bad results. Or you experience the good results among the midst of other black results, so you have the white and black are mixed. And then you have the karma that is neither white nor black. It's the undefiled karma that will eliminate or extinguish. What douses them is undefiled, as it says in the root. So dousing it. And so that's the point that we're actually talking about today. So I just want to actually review one more point. When you talk about what these white, black, mixed, and mixed karmas are, those 3 are the ones that we have to worry about. The black karmas are non-virtues, and non-virtues are only in the desire realm. White karmas refer to the virtues of the form realm, but they do not refer to the virtues of the formless realm. Now, this is a point that I didn't explain yesterday, I don't believe. So it's just the form realm, not the formless realm. And the reason for this is when we're talking about karmas, we're talking about actions of body, speech, and mind that will then ripen on body, speech, and mind, right? As experiences of body, speech, and mind. And so for that reason, in the formless realm, there is no body and no speech. So when you are in the form, even if you are a desire realm being who develops the formless meditations, when you're in the formless meditation, there's no action of body and speech. And when you experience the results on the formless realms, there's no body and speech to experience the results because there is no form in formless, as it says. So for that reason, it is not counted among the white karmas in this presentation. Of course, there are many other presentations where it is included in it, but we're not dealing with those today. So we're saying white is just the form realm. And then we've got the undefiled, which douses them. And so the undefiled, as we spoke about in a general presentation yesterday, at the end of the class, we have the paths of seeing and the paths of meditation. Now, my scrawling on the whiteboard last night has now been replaced by attractive and clear drawings by our studio audience. And so we picked the best ones for each path to show you this. So basically what we're saying is that when you're on the path of seeing, you meditate, first you gather the accumulations, that's the path of accumulation, then you train in meditation, but your meditation is still conceptual. You're thinking about the truths, but you're not really seeing them. And then at some point your meditation gets so strong that you see the truth of suffering in the desire realm. That's the first moment of the path of seeing. And we call that desire realm, the Dharma forbearance. Here it just says forbearance, but it's called Dharma forbearance. Dharma forbearance of suffering, because you can bear seeing suffering. You've got the wisdom, and then you've got the afflictions, the greed, hatred, delusion, pride, doubt, and wrong view that focus on the truth of suffering in the desire realm. And you have the truth that sees the truth of suffering in the desire realm, and those afflictions just can't stand it, and so they go away. And so in that next moment, you're free of them. So this is a path of no obstacles, a path of liberation. This is Dharma forbearance of knowing, Dharma forbearance of suffering, and Dharma knowing of suffering. And then you realize that the same thing happens on yours for the form and formless realms, the two higher realms. So you've got the subsequent forbearance of suffering and the subsequent knowing of suffering for that. So that way, in this way, you're getting rid of all of your desire, desire, hatred, delusion, pride, doubt, and wrong views that focus on the desire realm, and then you that are discards of seeing, shall we say? And then you go through, and then you realize that suffering has a cause, and you go through the same sequence. First, you discard the discards of seeing that are focused on origin, and then you are free of them. Then you focus on them in the higher realms, and then you're free of them, and then you move on to cessation. And cessation in the lower realms, cessation in the higher realms, and so forth. So this is kind of, if it takes a while to get used to this, so I'm not really expecting all of you, especially those of you who haven't gone through and looked at the drawing, and even those of you who have done the drawing, if you haven't studied the 6th chapter, this is a little bit difficult to understand. But here it's kind of an overview of it. So basically what we're saying is that when we're really abandoning afflictions are on these 4 levels. And on these 4 levels. On these 4 levels, numbered 1, 5, 9, and 13 here, that's the number of the moment, because this happens one moment after another. So on the first moment, 5th, 9th, and 13th moments, we're abandoning afflictions that relate to the desire realm. Now, why that's important now is that means that we're also abandoning the actions that are motivated by those afflictions, right? So that's why it's important in this context. Then when we have in the form and formless realms, we have on the 3rd, 7th, 11th, and 15th moments. On those moments, we abandon the afflictions that are discards of seeing that focus on the Four Noble Truths in the form and formless realms, right? So we've got 4 sets of afflictions that we're going through, right? So on those moments, we're abandoning the afflictions, and what that also means is that we are abandoning our attachment to the actions in those realms also. So we will no longer do those actions out of attachment, right? So these are 16, and these are like the roughest. These are like the kind of grossest level of discard, at least for the noble path. And then after that, even after that, because these are kind of rough level or coarse levels of discards, then there are all the subtle levels of discards, which are over here on the path of meditation. So on the path of meditation, we have, this is the path for desire realm, form, the first level of form, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level of form, and then the 4 levels of the formless realm. So on each of these, for each of these realms, we have 9 sets of discards. So in each of those sets of discards, we have in desire, we have desire, anger, delusion, and pride. And then in the upper realms, there's no anger, so you have desire, delusion, and pride for the upper realms. And you have to get and those come in many different layers. So you look at this and you've got 9 sets for each realm. That means you've got kind of 81 different levels of discards that you have to eliminate on this path. So you've got to, get your 81 different, little stickers to fill in each of these blanks, right? That's how we have to do it if you're doing it. And when you get to the end, you win the prize, the top prize, which is arhatship. Right? So that's generally how it works. So when do we give up and so in each of these, we're giving up the afflictions as well as the actions they motivate. Okay? So now here we are, when we're talking about white karma, black and white karma, and undefiled karma, it is the undefiled karma that gives them up. In fact, that means that each of these 81 different things means that you're gaining an undefiled knowing a level, right? You're gaining a new level of wisdom for each one. Another point, this is also dealing in terms of people who have not already developed dhyana meditation. We're taking this in terms of someone who's starting at the very beginning, seeing the truth, and then learning how to do the dhyana meditations. Okay. So what is it that extinguishes it? So this is where we are on page 338. This is verse 61 of the 4th chapter for those of you who are looking at the ebook where the pagination is different. So in verse 61, we're starting with a specific explanation of the distinguisher, and so we have the 3 types that are distinguished, right? Undefiled is not distinguished, but the other 3 are. So we have to extinguish that which extinguishes the black, that which extinguishes the white and black, and that which extinguishes the white. Okay? So that which extinguishes the black, the forbearance of dharmas and 8 paths of no obstacles that bring detachment. These are the 12 volitions that are karma which destroys the black. So here we're talking about 12 different types of undefiled karma, undefiled actions that destroy the black karma. And the reason why we're saying is that it's not like every undefiled karma, that is, not every type of wisdom eliminates every type of obstacle. You've got different levels of wisdom that eliminate different levels of affliction, and when they eliminate those affliction, then the actions they motivate naturally cease. Right? So that's how they eliminate the black, the white and black, and the white. So the 4 forbearances of knowing the Dharma of suffering and the other truths that are part of the path of seeing. So the 4 forbearances that are part of the path of seeing. That's that one, and then this is a Dharma forbearance, this is Dharma forbearance, and this is Dharma forbearance. So it's these 1, 2, 3, 4. In other words, the first 4 times that you develop the wisdom that sees each of the 4 truths in the desire realm. That is what eliminates the black, that starts to eliminate the black. Those are the first 4. Now I'm going to have to get up and start drawing on. They've made pretty drawings, and so I'm going to have to now scrawl all over them, just so it's clear. If they wanted to frame their drawings later, too bad, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, it's working. Okay, so that means that we're getting rid of black here, and I'm going to draw an X through each one to show that you're getting rid of the black. Black. Sorry to you guys. Black. That gets rid of black. 1, 2, 3, 4, because these are the 4 Dharma forbearances on the path of seeing. Okay? Now, well, what about for the form and formless realms? Those do not eliminate the black because, why? Because there's no black action. Okay? So it's just these 4 in the path of seeing. Now I need to get back to my book. Oh, and I've lost my page. Okay, and the first 8 undefiled paths of meditation of no obstacles that bring detachment from the desire realm. So that would be, here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for the desire realm. So there are 9 paths of no obstacles, or 9 wisdoms that see different levels of the truth for the desire realm. And the first 8 of these eliminate black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So how many black X's have we got? 4 and 8. So these are the 12 volitions, the 12 moments of mind, or the 12 wisdoms, the 12 intentions of seeing the nature of the desire realm. Okay, so the 4. So there are karma which destroys the black because they abandon desires dharmas of non-virtuous misdeeds. In other words, by eliminating the afflictions, they eliminate the misdeeds that go with them. But notice they are not eliminating them all at once. You have to go through stages. You've got 12 different stages of eliminating. Actually, you've got you've got 12 different stages of eliminating the misdeeds of the desire realm. So the 4 Dharma knowings and the 8 detached paths of liberation are not. So you've got the 4 Dharma knowings. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 8 paths of liberation. After you give up this, there's the first moment you have the wisdom that arises, and the wisdom and the affliction are together, and then the affliction falls away. And the next moment you have paths of liberation. So that's 8 paths of liberation that happen right after you get that. So that's what we're talking about there, the 8 paths of liberation. So each of these tokens refers to, or one of these circles refers to a moment of the path of no obscurations. And then in the next moment, there's the path of liberation. It follows right on it. The paths of liberation are not drawn on the drawing. And then the 4 subsequent forbearances and 4 subsequent knowings are not antidotes for the black because they are only antidotes for the higher realms. So this we discussed. These 4 subsequent forbearances and 4 subsequent knowings are not antidotes for black karma for that reason that they just They don't have anything to do with it. There's no black karma in the form and formless realm. So now we have a question of that which extinguishes the white and black. So the white and black is what? It is the virtue of the desire realm, right? So the virtue of the desire realm, you can still do virtue of the desire realm after you're on the path of seeing. And in fact, you probably will continue to do the virtue of the desire realm. And you can still do virtue of the desire realm all the way through here because you're still on the desire realm, in the desire realm. Once you get to the ninth, then you give up both the black and the white. So here we get two X's. Now, on a white background, I can't draw a white X. So I'm going to have to draw two X's. We're going to get the black X and green. Green equals white. Okay, so here we have something distinguishing the black and the white. Okay, does that make sense? Now the reason why it's giving up the white here instead of here is because all the way through this point you are giving up, you are still experiencing the white and the results of white actions, and you are still attached to it. When you get to this point and you give up the white and black, you are giving up not only the black actions, but you're also giving up all your attachment to the white of the desire realm. Okay? So at this point, even though you can still, because if you're still a desire realm being, you haven't died and gone to the form realm yet. While you're still in the desire realm, you can still do virtuous actions. You can teach Dharma, you can be generous, you can practice discipline and so forth. You can gather the accumulation of merit, but you have absolutely no attachment to it. So in this sense, you have given up the white karma as well. So giving up white karma does not mean that you stop doing it. It means that you no longer have any attachment to it. Okay? So that is the black and the black and white. So I've explained the black and white. Now to read the text on it. Volition, that which extinguishes the white and black. Volition of the ninth is what extinguishes the black and white. So this is the volition of the ninth. So here, ninth is shorthand for the ninth, for the path of no obstacles that eliminates the attachment to the ninth set of meditation discards for the desire realm, the last of them. So basically we're saying the very last discards of meditation, that last bits of attachment that keep you attached to the desire realm. So here it says, the volition of the ninth path of no obstacles that detaches one from the desire realm is what extinguishes the black and white karma. So that is that ninth, it extinguishes black and white karma. Because the only time that you're because up to this point you've distinguished all the black, so now you're still attached to virtue even through the eighth. It's only with the ninth that you're no longer attached to virtue either, or attached to the results of virtue. And the reason is because it abandons the ninth black afflicted karma of desire by severing the attainment of its essence, and it also abandons the white of desire by freeing one from intentional desires. In other words, you intentionally want some good results, so you no longer have it. So when it says the ninth black afflicted karma of desire by severing the attainment of its essence, when you develop the wisdom that sees the nature of those discards, then at that point, they go away, so you no longer have them, so you no longer have the attainment of them. You have what we call the result of removal. You removed them, okay? And then we have the next section is that which extinguishes the white. The last path of no obstacles to dhyan's detachment douses white. The last to arise are the four paths of no obstacles to detachment for the essence of the four dhyanas. The volition that abandons the ninth meditation discard douses or extinguishes white karma. So here this means we have, for the first form realm, You go through, start with, it's listed here as 10. So you start here, you go through, you've got all of these, this set of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have 9 sets of meditation discards that you need to go through. And it is the last of these that douses the white karma of the first dhyana, or the first level of form. So when you discard, so up through here, you are still attached to the first dhyana. So here, you're no longer attached when you get to that point. So here, we'll mark it as discarding the white. Does that make sense? And then it's the same thing when you have the second dhyana. You go through 8, and then you get to this last one, and you discard it. So that's 1, 2, and then the same for the third dhyana here, and then the same for the fourth dhyana, gets you up through here for discard set of the 45th set of meditational discards. So we've got all these here. So this discards the white and black. These 4 discard the white. These 4 discard attachment to the 4 levels of form realm, but there's not white karma on the formless realm. Excuse me, did I say formal? They discard attachment to the formless realm, but they are not considered karma that discards the white, because there's no white karma on the formless realm, as we spoke about just a few moments ago. Okay? So does that make it clear? The studio audience is generally nodding their heads. I hope that those of you watching at home are also. Okay. So that is the path of discarding in general. It's kind of a brief way of presenting it. The main thing, the most important point to remember here is that there are different stages that you go through. You don't give it all up at once. It takes a long time to go through the path. Maybe not a long time. Some people would go through this path in like a week. There are many stories in the time of the Buddha of people who had the right karma who went through it in a week. The path of seeing itself, once you get to the path of seeing, this all happens very quickly. 16 moments. Now, I don't know that these are necessarily the instantaneous moments, the 13 millisecond moments that we were speaking about in the 13th chapter. I think these are, but it's more like 16 different sets of realization. You realize one thing, and second, and then third, fourth, and just one after another until you get to that 15th point. And then here, you're on the path of meditation, and then you start developing the dhyana meditations and go through each of the levels of dhyana in order. And as each goes through, you eliminate the afflictions, and because of eliminating the afflictions, you then eliminate the karma. So it takes a while to go through and eliminate all of the karmas, and we don't eliminate karmas directly. This is something that Trungpa Rinpoche often says. You know, if you want to give up getting angry at people, how do you give that up? Well, you can't give it up. You can't say, I'm never going to get angry at people. I'm never going to lose my temper again. You can't. Instead, you have to look at what is it? Oh, that comes out of the afflictions. That action of getting angry and losing my temper at someone came out of the afflictions. Well, then you look at, can I get rid of the afflictions? And the answer is yes. Why? Because they're based on a false view of the self. So therefore, when you gain progressively deeper realizations of the nature, you get deeper, you get more profound meditations that give up subtler and subtler levels of discards. These discards of seeing are relatively coarse. They're fairly easy to get through. The discards of meditation are like the really subtle ones. So when you have it's like when you have a dirty cloth. You have a white cloth that somehow got dragged through the mud. When you take it in, you start washing it. The first time you wash it, you get about 80% of the mud out of it, but it's still gray. And you have to, well, if you don't have bleach, you have to scrub, and you have to scrub and scrub until finally it's that last, there's that little tiny bit where it's just slightly gray, and then finally you get that out. And that's the point when you get to the last stage and you achieve arhat, and you get to go to the next level. Next level of the game. This really does look like the sort of video game or game sort of thing. At any rate, that's how it should go. Okay, so that is enough about that for right now. We're now going to move on to the... Excuse me, I think there's a little bit of the commentary I didn't read. So in the description of that which extinguishes the white, it says, as long as that ninth discard has not been discarded, when it focuses on something, it is possessed as a discard. So as long as you're focusing, when you're on the level of, say, the fourth dhyana, and you have gone through the first 8 of the stages, you only have that ninth set of discards to go. As long as you have that, when you focus on the features of the fourth dhyana or whatever you're featuring on, then that is possessed as a discard. So you need to eliminate that affliction so that you no longer possess it. Once you have removed it, the possession is gone, and instead you have the result of the removal. And so when discarded, it is discarded in terms of removing the desire of intention. So when you get to the fourth dhyana and you discard the attachment to the fourth dhyana, you're still there. You haven't died in the form realm yet, or you haven't, or if you've achieved this in another level, you haven't left the fourth dhyana necessarily, but you don't have any attachment to it. Actually, your mind would have gone on to the first level, the formless, wouldn't it? So you may still be in the formless realm, but and you may still be able to observe that. You may go back into the fourth dhyana meditation, but you don't have any attachment to it. So in that sense, you have discarded it. So when we're saying discarding something, it doesn't mean necessarily getting rid of it. What we're getting rid of is the attachment to it. Okay? So presenting other traditions. So other traditions means other traditions of how to explain what is white, what is black and white. So here there are kind of two. Some say the two are what is felt in hell and elsewhere in desire. So some scholars say that the two, that is black and mixed black and white, are what you experience respectively in hell, that would be black, and elsewhere in desire would be black and white. So they'd say that pretty much any karma that you would experience as a hungry ghost or as an animal or as a human or a god would be mixed, a desire realm god would be mixed black and white, not just the desire realm virtue as we were speaking about that before. The reason is that when you are a hungry ghost, in any of the desire realms, 6 classes of the desire realm, except for hell, you can experience pleasure. You can experience fully ripened results that are pleasant. So therefore, the result, so being there is kind of mixed. Now, I think when you're in the hungry ghost realm, you're probably less mixed than when you're on one level. When you're in the God realm, you're less mixed on the other end. You know, one is tending more towards the black, and the one is tending more towards the, one you've got the sliders more on the gray scale, on the darker gray, and one you've got the sliders on the lighter gray. To if you think about it in terms of like a graphics program, but they're still mixed, is what they're saying. And others call seeing's discards black, the rest desire black and white. So the discards the actions that are motivated by the discards of seeing in desire, that is these 4, are all necessarily black, they say. And the reason is because those actions must be motivated. That's the word, motivated by an affliction. So that is the reason why they say this. So some masters say the two, black karma and black and white karma, are as follows. A karma which is felt or experienced in hell is black karma that fully ripens as black. because there's nothing but unpleasant, full ripening in hell. And karma experienced by other wanderers elsewhere in desire is logically both black and white, because it is possible that you can experience pleasant ripenings of karma in any of the other classes of samsara, or of classes of the desire realm. Some limited completing karmas are said to be neutral. So there are some karmas, they say, some actions that ripen as neither pleasant nor as unpleasant, but as neutral states. But there are just a few. And they're completing karmas, so they bring something that happens to you after you have taken birth, essentially. Now, other karmas say that the karmas of seeing discards are not mixed with virtue, so they're only black. So they're saying the black is not necessarily those that are going to take you to hell. They're the ones that are motivated by those discards of seeing that are necessarily afflicted. The rest produced in desire, the discards of meditation, that would be the 8 on this first level, would be mixed black and white, they say. Because it is only possible for them to be either virtuous or non-virtuous. Okay? So that is a description of black and white karma. So so after you have eliminated these discards of seeing, you're not going to do any major unvirtuous things, but you might do some minor unvirtuous things. You might engage in some sort of a minor type of deceit out of embarrassment, for example. You've done something you know you shouldn't have, something minor. You have, well, whatever it is. I don't need to go there. But you've done something that you're kind of embarrassed about, and you say, I didn't do it. It's kind of it wasn't me. So that sort of thing. It's not entirely bad, but it's certainly not good either. Okay, teaching the many enumerations of karma. So we have finished the first of these sections on, back in our presentation, the general teachings of karma has the classifying in terms of cause and result. So now we're talking about other enumerations of karma. So these enumerations of karma, so these are basic enumerations or lists, different ways of looking at karma. And these ways of looking at karma don't necessarily all include every single type of karma. So the first way is classifying them in terms of their function. And then the second is explaining karmic paths in particular. So classifying in terms of function has 5 points. The first is explaining the silence of the 3. Silence. The word for silence is mauneya in Sanskrit, or tupa in Tibetan, tupa. As in the Buddha Shakya Tupa, the Buddha Shakya Muni. Muni comes from the word mauneya. The Shakya Tupa comes from the word muni. So the Shakya Tupa is a translation of the word muni. So when we talk about the Buddha as a sage, why is the Buddha, or an arhat can also hear, according to why is the Buddha a sage? Because he has the silence of the 3, the silence of body, speech, and mind. It is silence because he's free of the chatter of the afflictions of body, speech, and mind. Like, for all of us in our mind, there's we're going along, everything's fine. And then you've got this little voice in your mind that says, well, what about that? Oh, that person's horrible. So you've got that chatter going on in your mind. And so when that is completely silenced, not just the gross level that we're aware of, but even the subtlest of subtle levels of the chatter of the afflictions is silenced. That is what we mean by silence. Non-learners' karma of body and speech and just their mind respectively are silence of the 3. So non-learners' undefiled karma of body and speech. That means their undefiled actions of body and speech. So that's karma, action, right? So this can include like their, in particular, their imperceptible vows, the undefiled vows, and so forth, the undefiled karmas of body and speech. And just their undefiled mind. So the mind alone, the mind itself, is not considered to be karma. It's what motive. It's like it's a volition, yes, but it's not. But here we're talking about the mind itself. Their mind is silenced. So these are respectively are said in the sutras to be silence of the three: body, speech, and mind. These have, in the ultimate sense, silenced and abandoned all the impediments of the three gates, and are free of everything afflictive. So they've the afflictions are, as I said before, and this is what it says in the auto commentary, and also in Yashomitra, is the chattering. You've got that chatter of the afflictions is stilled. So you've stilled all the background noise of the afflictions, that they're completely silent. So the important here is that we're talking about the actions of body and speech and just the mind, and that's what becomes these the two. And then we have explaining the three cleansers. So we have three things that clean or purify or cleanse us. The Sanskrit word Shaukeya here also means washerman, someone who's washing something. So they're what wash you, they're what cleans you. So all three fine conducts are three purifiers. So there are three types of purifiers, and they are the three types of fine conduct. The sutras tells of the three cleansers of body, speech, and mind. So all three fine conducts of body, speech, and mind are respectively the three purifiers or three cleansers of body, speech, and mind. So you've got the fine action of body cleanses or purifies the body. The fine action of speech cleanses or purifies the speech, and the fine action of mind cleanses or purifies the mind. And they can do this for both temporary and ultimately. Because defiled fine conduct temporarily abandons stains of the body, or abandons stains, and undefiled fine conduct permanently abandons the stains of harmful actions. In other words, when you start doing defiled fine conduct, which is what we as ordinary individuals do, before we've achieved the path of seeing, we're doing defiled karma. We're doing defiled fine conduct. As you do that, that naturally decreases the harmful conduct that you do. Because when you're doing fine conduct at the same time, you can't be doing harmful conduct at the same time. And the more you do fine conduct, and the more you enjoy doing fine conduct, the less likely you're going to be doing it. But until you have gone through and eliminated all the black conduct, as we've done before, there's still a danger that you're going to do harmful conduct. And so for that reason, it is only temporary. But as you go through and you do the undefiled fine conduct of body, speech, and mind, and you get all of these different, like these 4 black here, and the 8 black, and the 1 black and white over on the path of meditation, as you go through those, then you are eliminating the harmful conduct of body, speech, and mind permanently, because the afflictions that would motivate that are permanently gone. So at first we suppress the afflictions, and then we uproot and eliminate them. You have to go through this stage first where you get rid of them temporarily. If you can't tamp them down, it's like if you want to put out a fire, you first have to get calm it down, and so that you calm it down so that there aren't huge blazes, aren't huge flames going, and then and that's good, but unless you get rid of the coals, the fire is going to reignite. So you have to get rid of the flames. But you can't you have to get rid of the coals too. You can't do that while there are huge walls of flame that keep you from going anywhere closer. You have to then first, put out the flames, and then you have to go in and remove the coals. So you have to do the defiled fine conduct first, and the defiled fine conduct is necessary, and it's excellent, but it is not ultimate. So we need to go through both of these. The purpose of teaching this is to rebut the non-Buddhist views that merely sitting without talking or falsely cleansing by washing on a river bank could cleanse or purify the stains. So the reason why this is taught is that there are Buddhist or non-Buddhist schools that taught that if you just sat and didn't talk, sat in complete silence, that doing that long enough would purify you. Or that if you would go and bathe in a river such as the Ganges, that would wash you of all your stains. Well, when you sit and merely don't talk, that doesn't do, if you're not doing anything with your mind inside, it's easy to sit without talking. If sitting without talking were all it took in order to get to liberation, then it'd be pretty simple. Some people have a harder time of it than others. But it's still, even for people who have a hard, it's not that hard not to talk. But it's more difficult to actually go through the path. You have to go through the path and eliminate the afflictions that motivate it. That's what causes it. Likewise, when you wash in, no matter how many incredible scientific properties the river Ganges is shown to have, no matter how purifying it is said to be when it comes towards sewage and corpses, it cannot wash away your misdeeds, because misdeeds are not, it's not like grime on the outside of your body. Really what we have to eliminate are the afflictions, and afflictions are mind. We have to correct, we have to cleanse our mind by cleansing our conduct of body and speech and mind. So you go through the fine conduct of body, speech, and mind to first temporarily tamp down, and then to ultimately uproot and discard the harmful conduct. So then there are the three types of harmful conduct. Non-virtue of the body, etc., is proposed as the three harmful conducts. So non-virtue of the body, speech, and mind is harmful conduct of body, speech, and mind. So the sutras teach three harmful types of harmful actions. What are the three harmful actions the sutra teach, you ask? The three non-virtuous karmas of body, etc., including speech and mind. So non-virtuous actions of body, non-virtuous actions of speech, non-virtuous actions of mind produce unpleasant full ripening. Again, we're not talking about this in terms of some sort of external scale. It's in terms of what sort of result are they naturally going to produce because of their own character. So they are proposed as the three harmful conducts of the three gates. All right? So we're not talking about some abstract scale. We're looking at it pragmatically in terms of they're harmful because they're going to produce unpleasant results for yourself and others. The three types of harmful mental conduct. So when you talk about these three types of conduct, we've got conduct of body and speech, but then mind is kind of funny, because mind isn't really quite an action. We can talk about it as volitional karma, but it's not quite the same as like an action, something you're actually doing with your body, speech, and mind. So what do we mean when we say the harmful conduct of the mind? And that's what this next point is discussing. To covet, the three types of harmful mental conduct. To covet and so forth aren't action, but are three harmful mental conducts. So coveting, covetousness, malice, and wrong view are not actions. We'll get into this in the next few days. They're not actual actions because they're not completed. They're not doing anything to anyone. They kind of motivate you. They bring you on the path to karma, but they are not actually actions themselves. But they're taught in the sutras to be the three harmful conducts, or three harmful mental conducts. So to covet and so forth, that is to have malice and wrong views, are not inherently action. That's just not their nature, their mind. But they are three harmful conducts of mind. And so the reason why we say that they're not action is because they're afflictions. Their nature are greed, hatred, and delusion. So they are not karmas, because they're afflictions contained within the six root afflictions. So we've got the six root afflictions are greed, hatred, delusion, pride, doubt, and the five types of view. One of the five types of view is wrong view. So that's the six types of afflictions. These are discussed in the next chapter. The Darshtantikas say that the conceived for that purpose sutras. The Darshtantikas is a subset of the sutra school. And the conceived for that purpose sutra, as I was looking at it this morning, I was thinking, what was I thinking when I thought of this translation of this name? I think I took it from a dictionary, I don't know. Or did I think of it myself? This translation actually should say, the sutra about either intended or premeditated acts, specifically intended actions, or premeditated actions. Okay? Because the sutra talks about, it says, bhikshus. Oh, hang on. So I brought this today. Here we are. So as bhikshus, when we do premeditated karma and accumulate it, we will be born in the hells. So what is that? It is the karma of the body and the speech and the mind, and it specifically teaches that covetousness, malice, and wrong view are the three premeditated karmas of mind, the harmful conducts of mind. So here in the sutra, it seems to teach that they are actually karmas and actually actions. Now, the Great Exposition replies to that, and they say that, and so therefore, the covetousness and so forth are only, or they're solely mental karma. So they must be karma, they say, because the Buddha taught that they are karma. The Great Exposition reply is that you can't say they're karma because they're afflictions. However, since they motivate karmas, then they bring. Since they motivate the karmas, they're then considered the harmful conduct in this context. And this is an interesting point. I was listening to a teaching by the Dalai Lama a few months ago. Not live, unfortunately. I was listening to it on a recording. And he was speaking about, when you talk about the three karmic paths of mind, covetousness, wrong view, covetousness, malice, and wrong view, in a sense, they're the same as greed, hatred, and delusion. They're very similar. And whether it's delusion or not is an interesting question. We'll have to think about that one later. But they're a little bit more harmful because you can have greed for something without being covetous about it. You can feel aversion and hatred for someone without feeling active malice. And you can be deluded and just completely misunderstand something without necessarily having a wrong view about it. And yet it's at this point when that greed gets to the level you see that something that someone else has, and you want it enough that you're thinking about actually doing something to get it. That's covetousness. And the reason why it's included here is that it's more dangerous, it's more harmful. It's actually going to motivate. It's more likely to motivate you than just simple greed is a different matter. That covetousness, thinking that you want that thing or that person or that being that someone else owns to whatever, or is someone else's to whatever extent, and so forth. So that way, think about it. The covetousness, malice, and wrong view, even though they're not necessarily different than greed, hatred, and delusion, actually are a little bit more dangerous. And for that reason, they're included among the 10 karmic paths. The next section is the 3 types of fine conduct. So the 3 types of fine conduct is the opposite. Fine conduct is the opposite of what? Of harmful conduct. So fine conduct is the virtues that are the opposite of those 3 types of harmful conduct of the 3 gates. They are the virtuous karma of the 3 gates. So gates here is kind of I should have mentioned this earlier, it's kind of a dharma. It's a fairly literal Sanskrit. We talk about the gate of the body, the gate of the speech, and the gate of the mind. And we translate it literally as gate. But sometimes the Sanskrit word gate, and also the Tibetan word go, that is a translation of it, can also talk about the means. It's like the three means of acting. And if you think about gate as meaning the way that you get into something, the way you do it, the means that you use to do it, then it kind of makes a little bit more sense. And if you just say the 3 gates in English, it's like, oh, well, why are we saying that? If you talk about the 3 ways, the 3 means of doing something, you do things with your body, you do things with your speech, you do things with your mind. Well, that's an interesting one. Okay, so we've got body and speech and somehow mind. So the three gates, the three ways that we do things. I guess we know things with our mind, don't we? We think we do, at least. So the three virtuous karma, the three gates, the absence of covetousness, the absence of malice, and the correct view. Right? So the absence of covetousness is the opposite. These are the three of mind: the absence of covetousness, the absence of malice, and the correct view. All right, we'll go just a little bit more today. It's not yet tonight. So for some of you it is tonight, maybe. So explaining karmic paths in particular. So when we're talking about the many enumerations of karma, we had two topics. The first is classifying in terms of functions. So with those 5 sections that we just went through, from silence of the 3 types of fine conduct, that is talking about them in terms of their function. Because it's talking about what they do. They silence the body, speech, and mind. They cleanse their harmful conduct or their fine conduct. So next we get to the explaining karmic paths in particular. So this has 2 topics, the overview and the explanation. Among them, to consolidate grossly, the various virtues and non-virtues are taught as the 10 karmic paths. So we've got 10 karmic paths, 3 of body, 4 of speech, 3 of mind. The 3 of body are taking that which is not given. The 4 non-virtues, taking that which is not given. Taking life, taking that which is not given, engaging in lustful sexual misconduct. Then you've got the 4 of speech are lying, divisive speech, either harsh speech or perhaps insulting speech. And then idle chatter are the 4 of speech. And then you've got the 3 of mind, and the 3 of mind are covetousness, malice, and wrong view, for a total of 10. And then the opposite of those, giving up, taking life, giving up, taking that which is not given, and so forth, are the 10 virtues. So among them, fine conduct and harmful conduct, to consolidate grossly or present very coarsely the actual basis. So the actual basis means we're looking at the actual act. We're not thinking about the preparations, everything you do up until the actual act. We're not thinking about the aftermath. We are thinking about the actual act itself. That's what we're talking about. That's the first thing. The various virtuous and non-virtuous karmas are taught in the sutras as the 10 virtuous and non-virtuous karmic paths in order to know what to take up and what to give up. In other words, in order to know what to do and what not to do. These are the do's and don'ts, is a pretty simple way to put it. The 10 virtues are the do's, the 10 non-virtues are the don'ts. Saying various indicates that this is a coarse consolidation that does not include everything. So here, when we talk about these 10, in a sense, we're talking about the 10 that are kind of like, they're not necessarily the worst, but they're the ones that get us into the most trouble. Let's put it that way. And there are many actions. When we talk about the 10 non-virtues, there are many actions that are wrong, that are not included. There are many actions that are harmful, but are not included in the 10 harmful actions. So what is not included, you ask? The preparations and the aftermaths of the 7 karmas of body and speech, and the mental karma of volition are not included. So the preparations for it are not included in the path. We're just talking about the act. Like if we're talking about killing, we're talking about killing itself, the act of killing, not the preparation, not the aftermath. And similarly for the other 6 of body and speech. And the mental volition. So volition, the volitional karmas are not included either. So we're talking about intended karmas. Additionally, many non-virtues, such as destroying stupas or beating sentient beings, and many virtues, such as abandoning drinking alcohol, generosity, and pleasant speech, are not included. So when we talk about the non-virtues, like we talk about taking life, well, beating someone up is bad. You can beat someone to a pulp, but not quite kill them. Isn't that bad? Yes, it is bad, but it's not included in these 10 karmic paths. Or destroying stupas or buildings and things like that. They are, of course, they're bad if they're done with, if there are actions that come out of an affliction, they are going to bring harmful results. But they're not included here, and the main reason is that these, if you give up killing and taking that which is not given, and sexual misconduct, then that's going to help you give up the others, because once you've given up killing, you're going to be less likely to beat people up too. It's just less. It's just if you give up robbing, you don't have to kill the people who are guarding the things that you are going to rob, right? If you give up adultery, you don't have to kill the jealous husband or wife. You don't have to beat them to a pulp, right? So giving up the three main ones also helps you avoid the other ones, even though they're not directly included. Likewise, when we talk about it here, the virtues here, we're primarily talking about giving up the 10 non-virtues. Now, there are other presentations, especially in the Mahayana Buddhism, where we talk about doing the opposite as a constructive version of the 10 virtues. But here, we're primarily talking about it as practicing the discipline of giving up the harmful actions of the 3 of body and the 4 of speech, the 3 of mind. Well, primarily the 3 of body. And abandoning drinking alcohol is a virtuous thing to do, but it's not included, and so forth. So that's just giving a brief overview of these 10 karmic paths here. So that seems to be a good spot to leave it for this afternoon. And picking up again on Tuesday. Tomorrow, as Monday, is a day off here at Trango Monastery. So tomorrow we will not have class. We will resume on Tuesday. So anyways, now we've had this basic presentation of the 10 karmic paths. And the important thing to understand about the 10 karmic paths is that they are not even intended to be all-inclusive. They're just 10 bad ones that kind of lead to the other ones. So they're the most important in that respect. Not necessarily the worst, but the most important for us to focus on giving up. Or practicing if we're talking about the virtues. So with that, let's now dedicate the virtue of teaching and listening to the Dharma, so that all sentient beings may give up the harmful actions and the afflictions that motivate them, experience pleasure always experience pleasure in the short term, and eventually achieve the state of Buddhahood. Osanam de tam che se pani tobne nye pedranam pam che ne ke gana che parla trombai Sipet solero vadro varsho. By this merit may we attain omniscience, defeat the enemy, wrongdoing and free. All wanderers from the ocean of existence, churned by great waves of birth, age, sickness, and death. Thank you.